Hey, Savvy Squad. Welcome to another episode of the Dr. Seb Talks Money YouTube and podcast. I have a special guest with me today, and we are going to be talking about simple ways to save money and boost your income. But before I introduce him, I want to remind you of the mission of the Dr. Seb Talks Money YouTube and podcast. And that mission is to empower women to take control of their finances with confidence, transform their money habits, and create a future where financial security unlocks opportunities. Now, our special guest is Anthony Weaver. He is host of the About That Wallet podcast. Anthony, welcome to the Dr. Seb Talks Money YouTube and podcast.
Hey, everybody. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sev, for having me on. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, awesome. So I have several questions for you because I like to dig into the topic with my guests. And before I go into the questions though, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. I'm gonna start kind of where I'm at right now. So one of the things is that I do help the sandwich generation build strong financial habits by use of the podcast and actually a lot of one-on-one sessions. And the reason why I want to focus on that generation is because we have aging parents and then also a lot of the people who have kids around my same age. And one of the things is that when it comes to dealing with their finances, a lot of people just don't have the confidence to actually, even talk about money, to say, hey, I make this much and I'm okay with it, to say that I have enough. And finding that confidence in that, like, that sense of pride, like, hey, this is what I mean when I stand on business or I stand on myself. Like, this is the thing that I want to help people continue on to do with themselves. So that's one of the reasons why I did the podcast, is because my mom didn't really share too much growing up, because I grew up in Baltimore and we have like at least like five different siblings. I would say because it's a mixed family. And so you get like stepmom, stepfather, and mother, father type deal. So it's like four sides of the family. And growing up with that many kids, dealing with that many different people, you get money tips along the way. It's not like they sat me down and say, like, hey, this is what you want to do with your money. These are the things you need to do when you get a credit card. These are the things when you do when you're trying to buy a house or go and rent an apartment or something like that. None of those conversations happened until I was well off into college and I was ready to get my first property. Not first property, my first rental. Um, Not rental property, but my first rental. And because I was able to get my first rental, that's when I started realizing, like, hey, this is the importance of having a savings. The reason why you don't want to go all in your savings to actually purchase a rental, or even to just get a car and learn about what does that process takes, and understanding all of that. So learning that process is something that I really want to help the sandwich generation really understand, like, hey, it's never too soon to teach your children about money, and as the parents, it's never too late to learn about money. So that's the
Yeah.
reason why I came with the show.
Yes, awesome. It really isn't. And for those who are listening, you remember that I had my daughter on a few days ago talking about this very thing. And then my story, it definitely is never too late to learn about money. So with that, what are three practical money saving strategies that someone can use today, regardless of your income level?
Regardless of your income level, so the first thing you want to do is start with paying yourself first. And no matter how small of a denomination that is, regarding of if it's $1 or $5. I myself, we call it the seed money. And what that money is, so that will allow you to say, like, hey, I actually have the confidence that I know I can put money off to the side. So let's start off with $1. Take that $1, say, like, hey, I'm able to save this $1 for a week, and just keep doing it that way until you feel comfortable. Then you move it up to $3, then $5 each week or each paycheck. whichever one is comfortable for you. So everybody can do that. Pay yourself first. And what I mean by doing that, also, you can open up another bank account with your current bank for free, and you can start putting that money over there. So it's like as you can say, you're separating the money. So you just call it your seed money bank account onto the side. The second thing that you can do for yourself is actually freeze your credit. You can go to Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax and just say like, "Hey, I want to freeze my credit." The reason why you want to freeze your credit because it helps out with scammers or anybody else that's trying to use your credit without you knowing, and it's free. I mean, you can't beat that because we're about that wallet over here. The third thing I say that everybody can do is to pick up a book or listen to a podcast about finances. Really dig in and just start somewhere. Pick an interest. So, think about, well, actually, I do this. I'll say this. The thing that you can do as a third thing, I think the most important thing is this is called investing in yourself. And by investing in yourself, you want to take a moment to go to, um, as you can say, you can go to a financial podcast such as this one. You can listen to a book with audiobooks with your library card. Those are free, and you can get free audiobooks if you guys haven't heard about that yet. And just start diving into that information. And the way how you figure out where you start is by doing a dream walk. And I call it a dream walk because it's like, where do you want to see yourself when you're close to retirement? If you have everything paid for, what would you want to do? And by doing that, that helps align your goals today so that you can have that dream.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned about freezing your credit, in that it can prevent scam, but it can also be a stopper for those impulse shoppers. Because once you are when you're an impulse shopper, if you have create those barriers, those artificial barriers, it's one way for you to have to think about that thing, because it's not so easy to whip out that credit card. You have to take the time to unfreeze your credit, and by the time you do that, you may realize you don't really want that thing.
Oh, well, freezing a credit is like opening up new lines of credit. So you can still use your regular credit card. That's fine. And you can still get your credit numbers and everything like that. Cause I had mine frozen. So I still get my credit score and all that fun stuff. It's just that new lines of credit will have to go through, get to unfreeze it in order to open up new lines of credit. So if you only got like two credit cards and you don't want to open up anymore, or you're not looking to buy a house, or you're not looking to buy a car anytime soon, just freeze it. It's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I meant. If they're wanting to make a purchase where they'll have to get a new card,
Yes.
yes, because my credit is also frozen. My daughter is frozen, because to prevent scams, but it
Mhm.
also helps those who are, their card may be maxed out or close to being maxed out, and they want to open a new card. When you go into the line, and they're like, you can save 10%, or you can save 15%, you get this thing. You're really not saving anything, but
Mhm.
it's a mental thing. It's an emotional thing, and they say you can save all this money, but because it's so easy to say I'm saving 15%, 20%, now you have to go and freeze that card in order to take advantage of that 15, 20%, or whatever it is you're using to entice you into opening that new card.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I work with my clients on, is setting up those healthy boundaries with their family members. Is because sometimes we all want to help them out to some degree. And the reason why we want to help them out is because that's who we are. It's our human nature to help. But then you get some of those family members, when you donate to them one time, it's like, okay, cool. I got the yes that one time. Then they come back to you again. You're like, okay, I can get by. I got the second one. Then the third time you give in, like, okay, yeah, they expecting it at this point. And you need to start setting those boundaries of like, hey, I'm only giving you this one time. And that's what was the name O'Larry on the Shark Tank, if you ever watch
Barbara.
that show. Yeah.
Mhm.
So he says it, and I actually like this. He
Oh,
says
not Barbara, the guy.
the guy, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and what he said is that he's only going to give you one time, and if you ask for money, you can't ask for it again. So if you ask him for 10,000, he's just going to give you 50,000 and say, "Don't ask him again. You can't ask for money from him again." And I was like, "That is a smart rule to have it." So it's you saying like, "Hey, $200 is your zero," like that's it. That's all you're giving to them for the rest of their lives, and that's it. Leave you alone. Um, and then I understand what people with the kids are like, that's my kid, you know what I'm saying? That's my blood. I gotta be there for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Finances, if you want to reach a goal, you gotta set healthy boundaries. Thank you, Kevin O'Leary. I could not
Yeah.
remember his first name. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, you are so right. Setting those boundaries are so key. Not only to letting them know ahead of time, because
Yeah.
what happens sometimes is we will give, and then when we don't have it that third or fourth time, then we want to cut them off cold turkey. But we've already set the expectation that, hey,
Mhm.
if you want something, you can come to me. So they may not put the things they need to put in place to make sure they have what they need, because they're thinking, oh, I can come to Severin, I can come to Anthony, because
Yep.
he or she's done that for me in the past. So setting those boundaries ahead of time, I think, is really healthy, because now they have to start thinking creatively about
Yes.
how they're going to take care of whatever it is they need to take care of. What are they going to do if they get to that roadblock, because they can't count on Anthony anymore? They can't count on Severin anymore. So now they have to really think
Yeah.
about what they need to do.
And the beauty of having boundaries just in that one area, you start thinking about how can you create healthier boundaries with everything else you're doing. So think about it when it's the holiday right now. I told
Mm,
everybody I'm not buying gifts unless it's a book or if I'm donating to your child's 529 plan.
yeah,
That's it.
I
Like
love
I'm not getting anything else. Like I might get a wallet because can't go wrong with another wallet. But
it.
that's about it.
I love it. I love it so much, because now you set the expectations, right? And there's so many other ways, and we're going to be talking about that throughout the rest of this month. So many other creative ways that we can um, be a blessing to our families
Mhm.
without going into debt.
Yes.
And as I'm saying that, what are some other ways that they can maybe budget or be creative in, this Christmas season, this holiday season? How can they be creative to save money but still have that great family time?
It goes back to family values.
Mhm.
If you guys value each other's time, I talked to one of my clients and they were saying is that what they do for their family is that they take one gift, like one person of the family will get the gift that they really want, while everybody else would do a white elephant game. So
Mm,
then it rotates throughout the family. So that creates creativity within the household, but also you're creating that expectation. The fun aspect is there. You're spending time with family again. And if gifts is really something like your love language, everybody's still getting a gift. It's just a different way of having that gift.
yeah.
Now, the other option that I've seen that's been really helpful with my clients is that they because of the time frame right now, the time of this recording, but usually we do this early on in January, is that we will start planning out for Christmas and start having those healthy conversations. Like, what do you really want in for Christmas, or it's just do active listening.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure if you ever seen that clip where that little girl, she was super excited because she got a banana in a box, and everybody, like her family, was there and they recording it, and she was just jumping up and down because she was super excited about the banana. And this is an example of actually doing active listening, giving people what they want instead of what you think they want or need. And that is the joy of the holiday season. So make sure you do active listening so that you can look like the winner or the best gift giver in your family.
Yeah, I love that one too. Yes, active listening. Because how many times do we get gifts and we're like, what is this? This is not something that I would enjoy. This is
Right.
not a hobby that I would enjoy based on my personality, based on, you really don't know me if you bought me that.
Right.
You
That part.
know? Yeah. So What are some creative ways to generate maybe additional income, even with limited time or resources? What are some ways that they can create additional income? Because right now, some people are thinking, I want to do the gift. I hear what you're saying about all the boundaries. I hear what you're saying about all the things, but I still want to buy the gifts. But I need to make some more money.
Okay. Um, this goes back to your healthy habits, your healthy financial habits. Because one of the things that I do, I love credit cards and I love the point system that they have available. One of the things that I do is I look at my credit cards before I do any purchase. So some of the times the credit cards will give you either 8% back, 10% back on top of the percentage that you get off the card anyway. So like American Express or even Chase, they if you utilize their shopping cart, they actually have a shopping portal. So if you shop through any of those, I keep forgetting those people, any of those merchants through that shopping portal, you actually get a special percentage on cash back. Because you purchase something one time, you actually have to wait about like maybe 3 to 5 days from that. And then you can actually use that money that you got from those points to actually buy your gift for the next person. So it's almost like you're paying it forward just because you purchased one expensive gift. Or even if you want to buy a trip for yourself, you can go to, across the pond if you want to, and then be like, hey, I'm gonna use these points to go ahead on and start using the points to pay off something else or get yourself like a gift card that you can mail to somebody else. So that's one way. If you want some quick dollars, you can either do surveys. You can, because I have one of my clients actually going through, and I think they made like almost $100 in a month just by doing surveys. Now it's not for everybody. You got to be sitting there doing the surveys just for your time. You'll get paid for those. You can do, man, so many different ways to make money this season. So it's just be creative and just continuously to ask. But when it comes to savings and so forth, there are very few ways to do that, which is, again, you got to set those boundaries. And if you have those and you still want to get the gift, you might have to get something else. Really listen to that person and be like, hey, I heard you talking about this, but whooping if they like really into cars and like, hey, instead of buying them like an air freshener or something like that, you go get their car detailed or something like that. Like it's $100 or $200 for that gift. So you have some cool ways to play around with that.
Yeah, you know what, when you talk about the gifts or ways that you can save money, one of the things we can do is sell all that stuff we have in storage.
Yes.
I had
On
a client
Upwork.
once, and she had all of those things, and she was in a financial bind,
Mm,
and she wanted to move her stuff from the big storage to the smaller storage. And I'm like, why not sell all of it? Because you where you are, you're comfortable in your home. But why are you storing all those things? You're paying money every month for something that you're not even using. So there are ways that we can maybe make some extra money from all those handbags, all those clothes that still have the tags,
mhm.
all of those things. We love to hoard, but there are some things that we could possibly do. So it's so simple, right?
Yeah, so
And
you can go like because you just reminded me, like, yeah, like Poshmark is one of them. Just to shout out some of these brands, like you can actually go on Poshmark, go live, and say like, "Hey, this is the shirt I'm giving away right now." And then sometimes you don't even have to sell anything. Just because you're live, somebody will actually donate money to you just to say, "Hey, I just want to support you in whatever you're trying to do." So you don't even have to sell something sometimes.
yeah, actually, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
This beautiful microphone that I have right here was donated to me through funds,
Oh,
through
nice.
Buy Me a Coffee.
That
Okay,
is awesome.
this all of this microphone was uh, I got money through Buy Me a Coffee. I said, hey, I want to save some money for a microphone and a camera, and people donated to me, and I was able to buy this beautiful microphone. So yes, I mean, sometimes all you need to do is open your mouth and
Yes.
ask.
Didn't they
And
say, "Well, the closed mouths don't get fed," right?
closed mouths don't
Right.
get fed. Closed mouths don't get fed. And not only that, one of the things too is it's not even about the ask. Be careful because you don't want to keep asking all the time. You know,
Mhm.
there's a I read a book when I was years and years and years ago when I was in Jamaica, and it talked about the boy who cried wolf.
Mhm.
And he would always cry wolf. And then when there was a real wolf, when he said, "Wolf, there's a wolf," nobody came. So it's the same thing, I think, when we're asked, we have to be very careful, and think about what it is that we're asking for. Do we really need it? And so that when we really need something, we can get the help that we need. But if we're
Right.
constantly asking for things that are really not that important, and I know everybody has to qualify what's important for them, but
Mhm.
to really be honestly evaluate wants versus needs.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with wants. Let me qualify, nothing wrong with wants. Okay. But in order to determine what it is that you want or you need, and you can't afford it right now for yourself, who can you ask to help you? People are out here willing. Listen, how many billions of dollars did they say the people shopped over Black Friday?
Oh,
How many
geez.
billions of
Oh,
dollars?
yeah, it was like 6 billion or something like that this year.
Yeah, money is out there. Okay. Well,
Ridiculous.
it could be some of it could be credit cards, but
That's true, because a lot of people still paying off the Christmas holiday stuff from last
from
year.
last year,
Yeah,
right?
it's
And the year
ridiculous.
before, right? I'm a big proponent of using credit cards, but also making sure you have it in your budget to pay it off. Because I love the
Yeah.
points. I have like nearly 80,000 points on my American Express card.
Let's go. Okay, where we
Yes,
going
I'm
at?
ready to
Like,
travel somewhere. Okay, and then also the cashback. I'm,
yeah,
very strategic with my cards, but for my clients who have maybe impulsive shopping issues, I don't recommend them. I
that's
recommend other ways for them to use their cards. But I'm a big proponent that if you are matured enough and you can manage your cards, then I'm going to give you a strategy when I work with you to be able to use those cards and take advantage of the benefits. Because
yeah.
listen, those people, millionaires, they know how to use other people's money. And we
Mhm.
need to learn how to use other people's money and keep ours, and not burn through our money. Stephanie's standing here. I'm the same with points and cash. Yes,
Yeah.
just be strategic. And there are ways to do that.
Mhm.
And I know we
And
kind of drifted from the topic, but
oh no, it's
but
fine because
still
it's
good
all in.
nuggets, right?
It's tis the season, right?
Yeah.
So because we're talking about saving money and ways to doing it, like this sweater, this ugly sweater that I'm wearing, it's only $6 from the thrift store. Like
Yeah.
you can't go wrong. And
No.
I like it. It's warm. It's cold here in this basement, but you know, it's ways to get what you want. It just might not be the traditional way that you're used to getting it.
Yes, and here's the thing too. A lot of the traditions, and since we're talking about saving money
Hmm.
and ways to grow our income, a lot of the traditional things that we're accustomed to, these were not created through family traditions. They were not created through family saying, "Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that." They were created through marketing.
Yep.
They were created as a way to get us to spend money. So we have to really evaluate, do we want to spend $50, $60, $100 every year on decorations or whatever it is, when at the same time, maybe our children needs to have a college fund, or maybe they're in dancing or something and they're going to have need costumes, and just weighing those things. And again, we're not talking about deprivation here. We're not
Mhm.
talking about depriving yourself. We're talking about a way to really evaluate what we value. What do we really value?
And
And
being intentional about it. Yeah.
yes, and being intentional. What
Mhm.
Based on what I value, I'm going to decide that first.
Yep.
And then based on what I value, how can I now make sure my spending and everything else align with my values? So I am not in a hole. Because here's the thing. We try to impress people. They are at home, their bills are paid, they're okay, but we're thinking we need to impress them, and we don't know their financial situation.
Yep.
So we have to be very careful even during the season that we don't get ourselves stuck in messes or stuck in a position that doesn't serve us, that doesn't serve our family. Because many of us are one paycheck away, or
Yes.
maybe two paychecks away from not being outside, being outside our home, not having the money to pay for our mortgage or rent or car note. We're maybe one or two paychecks away. And even if we have money in savings, it could take a medical issue to wipe that out.
Yeah.
So whatever we can do to squirrel away, Proverbs said you need to save your money, put it aside, and there's a reason for that. All over the scripture, if you're a person who believes in the word, that you squirrel that money away for a rainy day. All of those sayings, there's a reason for that. So whatever we need to do to make sure that we are setting aside something and not just spending everything, it's
Right.
it's going to be worth it.
And one of the things that I wanted to double down on is what you're talking about, the family values. And creating those family values, it sounds nice. Like we just talking about it in passing, but some of you guys are like, well, then how do I do that with my family? And how do I actually get everybody around the same table? So one of the things is that you can sit down, really, just literally sit down with everybody at the dinner table while y'all eating. It's like, hey, we've been talking about this or whatever's been going on, but just say like, hey, I really want to create a family value, something that we can stick by, a mission statement or something that our family represents, and really take a deep dive into what it is that we want to do. So like I would just say, or thinking about it, just the first thing that you want to do is really just define what matters most. If family time is something that you guys want to do, then make that your deal. Understand that you have honesty, you respect each other, you want to constantly grow each other's education, you have faith, generosity. Like these are the things that you want to have those discussions about. And then just work with the family members. Just have an open discussion like, hey, what really matters with this family? And it doesn't have to be all at one time, but you can kind of break it down into different areas. Just have that moment and then start digging into, okay, are we going to create new family traditions? When I was talking about earlier, like one of my clients was just giving one gift and then everybody else do the white elephant. That's a family tradition. Like for me and my wife, our family tradition is with just us two, is like I whip out my little Christmas trees that I got from the thrift store. I love the thrift store. Um, I'm not I hate dealing with mess. So I got me a tree with some bells on it and it just bells. That's it. I put these up on the mantle and they sit there for a little bit. And then once Christmas is over with, I take them down. I ain't got no mess to deal with. I probably put up like a couple stockings and the gifts go underneath this tree. That's it. Like we exchange gifts and we exchanged one gift before the one, like on Christmas Eve, we open up one gift and then on Christmas Day we open up the rest of them. But that is our tradition. And so these are something that you guys want to think about when you're actually trying to build these out for the holidays or anything. And then we talked about the boundaries. We got to set those up because when you're locked in with your family, there is nothing can stop you. You know what I'm saying? You telling everybody like, look, this is how we operate, this is how we move. If you try to give somebody a Gucci that loves somebody who loves Gucci and you give them a fake Gucci, they was like, oh no, I only deal with Gucci over here. These are my boundaries. Gucci only. We don't deal with Louis Vuitton. We don't deal with all these other French name. I don't know brands, but that's only what I remember seeing. And so it's just saying, it's like you set those boundaries. Like for me, I don't care about brands. So if somebody were to buy me a fancy
Me
brand,
neither.
I won't wear it because I was like, I don't want it to break or mess up or whatever. I'd rather get me, just whatever. I don't even know this brand of this shirt is. Like, it's like,
Yeah, listen, if it's clean, it doesn't have any hole,
mhm.
I'm good.
And it
Okay.
keeps me warm. Like my private parts ain't showing. We good. Like,
Yeah. You talk about the you go into the thrift store and then, all the what you're setting, the values or the traditions that you were setting for you and your family. For me, when I was younger, when my daughter was younger, and my stepdaughter lived with us, I was married at the time. we would put up the Christmas tree, but they would put it up and
Mm,
take it back down. And I do the fake tree. Okay.
right.
Now my tree is put up and it stays up with all the decoration. I just unplug it and then I
Nice.
plug it in.
Like I said, it and forget it kind of tree. Like that's it.
Set it and forget it. I
Right.
love to set it and forget it.
Do you
But
decorate it for the
the
different
point is,
do you decorate it for each season? Like you
oh
put like bows on it
no, oh
for
no, it
oh
just
you don't
stays
do
with the one set with decoration, and that's it. And I just
like,
unplug it, and when Christmas come, I plug it back in if I remember, and that's it.
oh my gosh.
I guess the
I
point I'm
love it.
trying to make is we can create our own tradition and not depend on society to say this is what you need to do during
Mhm,
Christmas, because a lot of people don't even have the capability of even thinking about traditions and all of that.
mhm.
They are dealing with death. They're dealing with, death of a loved one during the season, and every time the season come around, that's what they're dealing with. So they're not even thinking about spending the money. So what is it that is in your family? Don't force your family members to be spending money, or to why are you so sad during the season? Listen, ask them what's going on with them. Don't
Yeah.
force family members to have to fit into a box during the
Yeah.
season. Create your own tradition based on where you are, based on where you are emotionally, where you are financially. As I said, I'm one of those who never ever fall into tradition when it comes to spending my money, whether it's birthdays, all of that. When my daughter growing up, I say, listen, it's not your birthday for Christmas. On your birthday, I give you a nice gift. When it's Christmas, if I feel like giving you something, I will. But it's not your birthday. And that's
Right.
how I grew up. Now, if she want to create her own tradition and her own thing, and people might say, "Oh, you're so mean." Listen, if you gonna
That's your
pay me
house.
at my house, okay, my rules.
Yeah.
If you gonna pay me if you're gonna give me some money to buy all the fancy gifts and all that stuff, listen, come January, I'm not gonna be walking around with a begging cup.
Right.
Help me pay my bills, help me pay this, whatever. I'm not gonna be walking around like that in January, February, because there are people who it takes them the entire year to pay for last Christmas, and then they run into debt again for this year, and then next year they're struggling to pay. So
Yeah.
I don't want my clients to be in that position. So I try to work with my clients, and I don't want my community to be in that position either, to have to be struggling to make sure they take care of, I call it chase your income, chasing your bills, because
I
you
like that.
can't quit the job. You can't quit even though the boss is an idiot. You can't quit because you need that job to take care of all those bills that you created in December. So I don't want my community to be like that. We kind of just rambling here.
Hey, I mean, this is because this is the conversation that happens, and this is one of the things you got to have those tough conversations often when it comes to your family. And if you're talking about from a family member, like your wife or your spouse or your significant other, or even with yourself, if you're by yourself, is that you got to have those tough conversations. Is this going back to what you said? Is this a want or is this a need? Is this something that's going to take me to where I want to go? And this is the reason why I said earlier on is that you need to have those dream walks. What does your future look like? What do you want it to look like? And be specific, because you can say, all right, cool. I want to be home, playing skee ball or whatever on my free time, or I want to be able to go bowling whenever I want to. All right, cool. What are your expenses looking like now? Are you actually investing in to looking at real estate? What state do you want to actually retire in? Are you renting now? Or are you owning? Do you plan to downsize? Like you need to have these conversations with yourself, and you don't have to make a list, but just kind of be mindful of it. And we know our brains are meant for processing, not to really retain a lot of this information. So if you do want to make a list, or that's why a lot of people do vision boards, is because they want to take it from their brain, put it into the physical world. So now that they constantly seeing it, the brain is constantly being reminded, okay, yes, this is where I want to go. This is where I need to be. This is where I need to put my money towards. And once you understand that and have that locked in, you're golden. And treat it like a disease. And when people keep saying, "Well, I don't like budgets. I like to do," I'm like, "Well, if your doctor say like, hey, you cannot have shellfish anymore, oh, you will not have shellfish anymore because you
Hmm.
will die." So, what do? You adjust your whole kitchen immediately. But yet, when somebody come to you about a financial thing to kind of help you to reach your goal, oh no, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh no, I'll do it later on today. And this is the reason why I always say you can change a habit within 30 seconds because soon as it depends on if it's hurting enough, whereas you constantly feel as like you're not getting to where you want to be. You're tired of being tired and you need to get away from that. And the only way to do that is that you need to invest in yourself. Take that time out. Go ahead on and start putting that money away. Set up as an automated savings. Like you're tired of being broke. If you're tired of being broke, make broke and a disease for you. It is for me. So that's the reason why I always make sure I got my seed money going somewhere. And every time I put my status, I was like, hey, today's Sunday, put $5 away into your savings account. Like I'm giving you something to put money somewhere so that you can never have to go back to the point where it feels like you are in need. Like they say, dig a well when you're already full of water. Like
Yeah.
you're when you're not hungry,
When you're not thirsty.
when you're
Yes.
not thirsty.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. And, again, I want to reiterate because I don't want people to think we're saying that, you need to be a skinflint, you need to
Mhm.
be a miser or any of that stuff. We want you to have fun in your life. But what we're saying is, if are you going to have fun to the detriment of your future? That's what we don't want for you. So we want to make sure that you are thinking, work backwards. If 5 years from now you are wanting to, have a paid off car, or you're wanting to buy that beach house, or whatever it is, what are the things that I need to do now so that 5 years from now those things happen? And if we don't think about those things, if we don't plan those things, then life happens whether we plan or not, and life is going to keep going. So once we plan, it creates this barrier in our mind. I love to name, for example, I love to name my savings accounts,
Oh,
and when
nice.
I do that, it creates a this artificial barrier, because now I'm very careful about whether or not I'm going to pull money from that, because, oh no, that's my money for XYZ. And because of that, I am going to be creative in finding another way to get the money that I want for this thing right now, because this money that I have is earmarked for something else. And, those little things that are things that we can tell ourselves or create in our minds that will help us to reach those goals. And we talked a little bit about, meeting with your family. It doesn't have to be a meeting when
Mhm.
you're talking with your family about money. It could be driving down the road in your car, and you're like, okay, we need to go buy that mattress. But here are some things that we can maybe think about. Do we need to buy it now? How much money do we have in the savings? You can just have those conversations as part of life,
Yep.
not necessarily having the meetings per se. And if you're going to have a meeting, create an ambiance where it's not stressful. So, for example, you may say, okay, we're going to have our money meeting once a month. In order to do that, we're going to have our favorite meal. We're going to have, candle. We're going to have our favorite movie afterward. We're going to carve out 15 minutes to have that money discussion. So you're not just creating a stressful money discussion. You're creating an ambience, a family ambience, a meeting, a time when you are enjoying yourself. Money is just part of that. It's not a meeting just to discuss money, because we're all different. For me, I don't have mind having a money meeting, but for somebody else who's anxious about money, that creates stress. So you know your family and what you can set up to have those kinds of discussions. All
Yeah,
right.
I was enjoying that. I was like, you keep going. I was like, all right.
So, we're talking about this. Here's the thing, too. For me, I don't want to focus too much on cutting costs, because
Yeah.
for a lot of us, there's very little
We
that
already
we
got the
know of.
little bit about. But I
Yeah.
think at this point is going back to reflecting on what is it that you want out of life. And that's because you and I, we coming from the abundance mindset. Like there's so much out there than what's around the block and what you have in your pockets right now. And if somebody can go out there and capture Canada air and put it in a bottle and sell it, you can sell anything in this world. It's ridiculous. And even with
Right.
the pet rocks, is $1 million. Like there's so
Yes.
many ways to make money. There's very few little ways to cut back on costs. And
Yes.
so when
Exactly.
people, yeah, so when it comes to that's why I was hesitant on like, well, when you say like how can people make money today, I'm like, there's so many ways you can go about it.
Yeah.
It's just where would you start? And I would say start with what you're comfortable with. And like Dr. Seth said, was you sell what you got. And for me, I think it's a long process. I don't like trying to sell things. I'm like, just get it out the house. I'll figure it out later. So that's why I'm constantly in the thrift store because I'm constantly donating things to the thrift store, getting things out the house. Because for me, I think then I gotta get the box and I gotta sell it, and I gotta create the website and all this stuff like that. It's a barrier to entry that I'm not willing to go through.
Yeah.
And so, but you got to go with what you're comfortable with. And if it hurts that bad where you really need that money, yes, I will learn how to create an account and I will be selling my tail off if it was hurting that bad. But because
Yeah.
I'm at a comfortable space, I'd rather just get it out the house. And if somebody want to give me $2 for it, sure, whatever. I just need it out the house.
Yeah,
Um,
I've given. I remember one church I used to go to, and I gave away a lot of clothes on my daughter because she just kind of had a sprout,
mhm.
and tags were on it. And the lady was like, "Why are you giving away all that stuff? You could have sold it." But my mind was where you just mentioned, right? I just wanted gone, so I just
Yeah.
stacked everything in bags and just gave them away. Because here's the thing, though, I believe in generosity, as you said.
Hmm.
When you're generous, the thing come back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, the generosity comes back to you. You're not necessarily doing it to get it, but it will come back to you. And I have seen it paid off in many, many ways. So, for those who you may need the money, and it's okay to sell it, if that's what if you have the wherewithal to do that. Have a garage sale or something, or get with a friend or a group of friends and have a garage sale at one person's house and bring all the stuff to that one person's house. They are just different ways to make money. When I was paying off nearly 40,000 in student loans, I still have student loans, so tell you how much I had. Right,
That part. Yeah.
I paid off nearly 40,000, and I drove for Uber. I did swag books. I did all the different surveys. I did all of these different things. I did,
See, the
um,
surveys
so-
work.
yeah, surveys work. I made over nearly $400 over on surveys, and
Nice.
I did all those things where you go in and they ask you about, like, what do you like about the TV or something like that. I don't remember what they're called.
I know you're talking about focus groups. That's
Yeah,
what it
focus
was. Yep.
groups. I did focus groups. I did all those things, and I was able to pay off nearly $40,000 in student loans.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, so it is possible when we put our minds to things, to be creative. But I think a lot of us have gotten kind of complacent because things come so easy to us, and we're the throwaway generation. Let me put it like that.
Hmm.
We're the throwaway generation, and we're like, okay, this don't work, I'm gonna get rid of it. This don't work, I'm gonna get rid of that. And we don't really think, for many of us, we don't think about what are some things that will make me not have to throw away so many things, because we don't stop to think, hey, I'm throwing away all these things all the time. Why is that? Why am I accumulating things that I have to end up throwing away? If we start there, it's going to be very helpful, I think, to make us really think twice
But
about
if you
accumulating those things in the first place.
think about it, um, as we grow, we have to let go.
Hmm.
In order for us to let go, we have to get rid of the things that got us to where we are today. So yes, we could look at it like, yeah, we accumulated all this stuff, but what was going on at that level where we needed this stuff to go on? Because like I think about it when I was looking at a pair of jeans, I was like, man, I really love these jeans. I used to go out clubbing in these jeans and everything like that. It has so many sentimental value, sunk costs, I guess you would say. I just let it go. It's like, you know what, my where I'm going at now, I can't wear those jeans anymore. They were some nice bell bottom jeans too. Like I cannot find bell bottom jeans ever. It's hard to find them anyway. But that's one of the things is like things I don't wear anymore. I've transitioned my whole lifestyle, transitioned my, I guess you could say, my attire. And so it's just kind of like shedding the things down and actually finding who you are at the core and cutting back. Because I know we got a little bit of time, but I want to talk about because boosting your income.
Okay.
One of the things from the 9 to 5 side of the house, if for a lot of you who don't want to do the business side and try to sell all this stuff like that, to boost your income, one of the things that you can do to boost your income is actually do more active listening in your business of employment. Listen to your supervisor. What do they need? What does your supervisor's boss need? On top of that, once you understand what your boss's boss need, what is the core values of that business? And once you understand what those are, and everything that you're doing is advancing the company or innovating or moving, making things more efficient, they will actually give you a bonus if your job allows for a bonus, or you might get that raise, or they might give you. Use it's sad though, but good work is rewarded with more work. But
Yes.
you, yeah, so but you can even strategize a way to figure out a way how do you can replace yourself. For me, I love to replace myself. If they say I'm like, hey Anthony, we bringing somebody else on, I was like, great. How can they take off all the things that I don't want to do and even the things that I do want to do? How can I write this up into a manual or a SOP, a standard operation procedure that this person can take over so I can move on to the next level? These are the things that will really help you boost your income. I can tell you this, every business needs a process improvement plan. So please, if you just say like, hey, put the business on the PIP, they'll understand what you're talking about. Learn the lingo, get your bonus, build your income, and provide value. Because once you provide your value and be like, hey, this is what the industry is going at, you guys are not it just yet. I'm moving a little faster than what you guys are. You can promote yourself. You can then write your own paycheck and continue to on is another tip as well is to continuously look for jobs because every 2 years you should be looking, mostly because of the way how fast the industry is moving and also the pay. You can actually increase your pay about like 20 to 40K every time you move. I've done it myself. I actually apply for new jobs every 2 years, and that's how often I'm moving around. So I've been doing it since 2016, and yeah, it's great.
And you said something key. It's about listening because not this won't work for every organization.
Mm-mm.
So we have to know our bosses. If you're working for somebody who all they do is steal your ideas, I've been there, and pass them off as yours, then that's not going to work. So know your boss, know the structure of your company, know the organization, know the group that you're in, and work accordingly, because then you'll know, okay, is this going to be a group where I need to, if I'm able to create this this improvement plan or something like that,
Hmm.
then I know I'm going to be rewarded.
Yep.
Then yes, go for it. But
But
just
even
be
if they,
careful because sometimes we can put ourselves out of business, out, lose our jobs. I've seen that happen too.
oh, I like that part too, because I'm like, shoot, get me up out of here because I ain't want to be here in the first place. Because if I can promote myself up out of the business, that's fine. Because then I know my value, which
Mhm.
means that I'm more valuable than what the company has to offer. And I've had where, like you said, where somebody will take the credit for the work you've done. I've helped so many people get promoted. And I was like, you know what? Am I here for them or am I here for myself? And then once I understand, like, hey, I'm here to learn. Did you get that knowledge, regardless if they took the credit for it, whatever?
Mm.
Did
Yeah.
you actually learn something from that that you can now write on your resume for that next position? For those of you who are the 9 to 5ers that want to stay to your 9 to 5, that's fine. I'm one of them. I love my 9 to 5. But again, even if because so many people took credit for the things that I did, but I was like, you know what? It's cool. It's water under the bridge. I know what I did. Everybody else knew on the team knew what I did. If that one person want to take the credit and they just want to give this person all the grades. That's fine. I ain't gonna be there for them to maintain it though. That's why I know that's for sure. So they'll figure it out. Hey, that's on them.
That is true too. Again,
Yeah,
and it all boils down to really knowing yourself and knowing those people that you're working with.
yeah.
Because you and Stephanie said the same thing. You move every 2 years. I did not do that. I stayed 19 years at one company, and
Wow.
but when I did move, I negotiated the heck out of my next paycheck.
I
Okay,
bet you
it
did.
was a huge jump, because well, there were some other things going on at the time. Where I was
Mhm.
pursuing my doctorate. I was able to just drive a mile down the street to take care of my daughter, go
Nice.
be her room mom for all her school years. So, some kind of comfort at the time, and all the promotions that I got that did not uh, accompany money did not accompany them.
Okay.
But that's okay. That's okay. I learned a lot, and I know my value, and I know that I was able to add value to the next organization that I joined. But certain things that a lot of us don't know, or we didn't know when we got into corporate America. So I'm hoping that what Anthony is saying here, that it's resonating with some people, and that you can go out there and go negotiate your value. Okay, and for those of us who didn't learn the lesson until kind of late, it's never too late. It's never too late.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of all of this is like it's going back to finding your core, finding your values, finding out what exactly are you comfortable with. And I guess because somebody was asking me recently, oh yeah, Woke by Accident, they were there. I was on that show and they were talking about somebody coming across with a Hummer or having like this luxury vehicle, you riding around in your Toyota Tercel. I gave up the Tercel side of the house. But again, it's what are your values? So if you have a Toyota Tercel, but you got a $8,000 square foot home because you love your property, you love to spend your time with
Mm,
that, then that's your focus. If that person loves Hummers and luxury vehicles, but they live in a 2,000 square foot home, who's right? And who's quote unquote rich? If they both getting what they want out of life. And
yes.
this is not comparing yourself to the Joneses, but really comparing yourself to yourself.
Yeah.
And I just really hope that everybody that's listening to this really take time out to understand what do they want out of life, who you are at your core, and make sure that you lock in on your values.
Yeah. Because that's why personal finance is that personal word in front of it. Personal, right?
Personal.
It's personal because we have so much judgment around people because I wouldn't do that.
Right.
So because I wouldn't do that, if they do it, something's wrong with it.
Yeah.
and that's not necessarily true because it starts with your value. What do you value? I'm driving a 10-year-old car, I'll be 10-year-old next year.
Hey, there you
And I
go.
love my little car. Okay.
Right.
I love my car. I drove back and forth to Orlando uh, 3 times, well, 4 times in the last 2 months with my
Okay.
car. Drove really well because I make sure I take care of it. That's my thing. I'm not into things, uh, so for me, that don't matter. My bank account now. Listen, I love my bank account. I'm always watching it and massaging it because that's my thing. I want my bank account and my portfolio to be okay. People are not seeing that. They're seeing my car and they're thinking, "Oh, you have a doctorate and you're driving for Uber and you're doing this." And I don't care what you think. I know
Are
what
they
I'm
paying your
doing.
bills? Are they paying your bills? Right.
I know my strategy.
Right.
So, because I know my story, I know that I had to rebuild my finance after my divorce at 57. I had to rebuild my
Mhm.
finances and I was down to zero. My credit score was down to 500. And now I'm good. Okay.
Right.
So I know my value is what drove that. I know what I wanted. I know what my values were, and I did what I needed to do to get there. I didn't care what other people say. And I know it's a little bit hard for some of us. But if you can get there, a lot of the things that society says you need, you might realize, you know what, I don't really need that. I don't need the valuation from other people. I don't need people to tell me that I'm good or that I'm not, or if it can come from inside, if we can
Yeah.
work on that, uh, that would be wonderful because then we determine what our fate is. We determine what we want to spend our money on. Not a holiday, not society, not our parents, not our coworkers, nobody, but we decide. And even
Yeah.
if you look like the lone person, the odd man out, that's okay because you know what it is that you value and what you're working towards.
Yeah. And one of the things that because I want to make sure everybody got this, because I love acronyms, and I'm sure hopefully your audience like acronyms too. The acronym that I use quite often is the BIKE acronym. So it's BIKE, and the B is the budgeting, the I is the income, K is the knowledge, and E is the execution. So right now, everybody is getting in that knowledge piece right now. We're getting that knowledge. You already have your income right now from your 9 to 5 or whatever job that you currently have. We just majority of the time the B is the budgeting side of the house is where a lot of
Mhm.
people struggle. And then the experience, we have the experience, but we haven't put it all together. Like, how do we make this together as a one big unit, one big bike that we can actually utilize on our day to day? So just like a bike, when you're learning to ride a bike, it's a lot at first. You got to learn about how to get your balance. You got to learn about what the training wheels. Then you start taking the training wheels off, which is the guide as a coach, like Dr. Sev and I coaching our clients. We are the training wheels to help you find that balance on your bike. All of a sudden, you start riding, then you fall off. It's okay, but you got back up on the bike to start riding it again. And this is where we want you to be so that you can be independent. Even if you fall off, you're like, you know what, I got the experience. And that's where that E is coming in, experience or execution. Is that you already have that experience now and you've been through this enough that you can get back up on your bike on your own without the training wheels. And that you might need some new strategies. You might come back to Dr. Sev and I and be like, hey, you know what, I'm looking at this, I want to try this out. I was like, cool, we got this course mapped out for you already. You can test out, play around, fall as many times as you need to, so now you can go out and do it again on your own.
Yeah, so key to say none of us uh, was born knowing about personal finance. None of us was born knowing about all this stuff.
Mhm.
And we don't want you to stay in your shame if you feel ashamed if you make financial mistakes. We all make them. And
We
don't allow
listen and we,
anyone to shame you.
like I said, we listen and we don't
We
judge.
yeah, we listen and we don't judge. Okay.
Right, we don't judge. No.
All right. So Anthony, this has been wonderful. But at the end of my podcast, I like to ask a fun surprise question.
Okay, what you got?
So, my question to you, if you had to switch careers for a day, what job would you try and why? And it's not none of those that you're doing right now. Okay. If you had to switch careers for a day, what job would you try and why?
I will try esthetician, like that pimple popper thing. I want to just try it out and just kind of like pop it once and just kind of just see how it is. Uh, I know it sounds gross and like and everything like that, but I just want to do it once. And if I could have a day to do that, I think that would be fun.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming.
Uh, Me either, because I didn't know the question. I wasn't
All
prepared for, but yeah,
right.
that's something I wouldn't mind trying.
Okay. Thank you so much, Anthony, for your time. We really have to do this again
Yeah, we had so
because
much
we
time.
didn't even touch into we didn't even touch into half of the questions, and there's so much that we can talk about. And I want you guys to go follow Anthony. His contact information is in the YouTube description. And for those of you who are listening on the podcast, it's going to be in the show notes of the podcast.
I
And
can say it now if you want.
for those of you right now who may be one of those lazy ones, who's not going to look at the notes, it's about that wallet. Ask about that wallet everywhere. Okay, pretty much everywhere. It's
Yeah.
about that wallet on Facebook, about that wallet on YouTube, and Instagram.
Blue
Am I missing
Sky,
any? Blue
Blue
Sky.
Sky X. Yeah.
Okay.
And
And,
even fan base for some of you who are supporting the Black owned support podcast. I mean, the Black owned social media platform.
Okay. Thanks again, Anthony. Any last words?
My last words, I would say, everybody, I just really want to make sure that you all are feeling comfortable, and hopefully, we were able to give you some ideas, something to think about for the holidays, even for yourself. Is come up with some different strategies, have fun with it, build some arts and crafts with your family. I mean, that could be a new tradition. Make cookies, or make learn how to teach each other how to gift wrap different ways. Like, hey, you learn this way, I learn this way, and let's come together, and like, we'll see who did the best gift wrapping. I don't know, make a contest out of it. Have fun with your money. I mean, you got to do this. This is for you. So wish you all the best. And y'all be safe.
Okay. All right. Well, tomorrow at 7 p.m., we're going to be back here again, and I will be solo. Saturday, I'll have a guest, but tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I'll be here. And I'm not sure what my topic is going to be. I have a bunch of topics, but whatever it is, it's going to be educational and hopefully inspirational. So please come back 7 p.m. tomorrow. We're going to be doing it 7 p.m. every night through the 24th of December. I'm going to have a guest talking about ADHD, how you can manage your ADHD during this holiday. I'm going to have a guest also talking about, Chandra, I think, is going to be talking about financial therapy and some things that you can do. And how you can take advantage of financial therapy to help you understand the underlying reason why you may be an impulse shopper and how you can maybe manage all of that. So, yes, I have some great guests lined up for the rest of December. So, please come back 7 p.m. Eastern Time every night to this YouTube channel. And I look forward to seeing you. Thanks again, Anthony.
Thank
Everyone,
you.
have a wonderful rest of your day.